Hi, everybody, and thank you for making time for us today. My name's Greg Miniger, and I'm the Senior Vice President at SIS-NW. I've been helping organizations with business automation solutions for over 20 years. Today, I have with me my Informed AI partner and co-presenter, Matt D. Benedetti. Matt is a longtime trusted colleague that I've known in this industry for many years. For this webinar, Matt and I will address AP automation. What does it mean and where do you start? Specifically, our agenda will include, first, some challenges that AP departmental managers are facing, including pressure to automate as much as possible. Second, some insights and issues with manual processes. Third, what are the best areas to automate today? Fourth, we will tell you a bit about what makes our combined solution special. And finally, since you may wonder if this is really something you should even look at, I'll suggest how and where to start to determine if your office needs AP automation or not. So let's begin, and I'll start off with some challenges most businesses face. There are many industry leaders who are declaring that automation will help your business substantially. We agree. For example, let me read this quote from Aberdeen. Solutions with accounts payable automation that accelerate turnaround times, as well as reduce potential for manual errors and delinquent payments, all help to increase retention and strengthen relationships with existing suppliers. It speaks to how AP automation can help you process payments faster, reduce errors, and improve your vendor partnerships. Automation is usually about cost savings, but it also helps businesses improve operations and strengthen relationships. Here's what I see. You have three challenges that need to be addressed when considering automation. Here's the first challenge I believe you have. Your department has a limited budget and even less capital investment money to make changes like automation. It's a catch-22. You need automation, but you need money to bring in automation, and you're constrained with limited IT support as well. Many top-level executives, perhaps even your boss, think that e-payables are on the rise, and with it, that substantial labor costs will soon be a thing of the past in your AP department. So they may think you do not need more budget for automation. After all, perhaps they think that the electronic world will make it better, reducing labor costs in the near future. That may not be the case. If you run an AP department, I bet you know the reality is different. For example, perhaps you suspect paper-based invoices are not going away. In fact, did you know across industries, 36 to 44% of invoices are still paper-based? Some companies even route invoices via emails for approval, printing them out, creating more manual headaches. So manual and paper processes are here to stay for the foreseeable future. I suggest that you need to figure out your truth for your company. Are your manual processes a small issue or large? At the end of this webinar, I'll be showing you an example business case you can access to determine your ROI for bringing in AP automation. More on that later. Here's the second challenge. If you're going to look at automation, you need to make sure it works well with your ERP software. What I mean is this. You've worked hard to get your system to work for your unique business needs and make your system be trustworthy. So changing your ERP isn't an option. Whatever you do needs to be seamless and integrate well with your system. Otherwise, it's not worth it. The same holds true if you've already adopted a document management system. You want a solution that enhances it and leverages the investments in time and capital that you've already made. Having said that, we don't think that's a challenge because working with your existing technology stack can be done. You may be wondering, can my AP process be effectively automated, including the data entry part? It certainly may sound like a challenge to automate that part. But the answer is yes, there is a better way to handle paper and other manual processes you do every day. It doesn't have to be a challenge, actually. These are great areas to automate because manual processes are so very expensive, but it's not always apparent how expensive. Manual processes and paper are costs that are hidden within companies. For example, once you have hired staff to do the work, that person is seen as just another overhead cost. But again, the cost is expensive and surprising. Next, we'll discuss the costs associated with manually processing an invoice. On the left-hand side, you'll see tasks, and on the right, you'll see the time associated with that task. Based on our extensive experience, we found these averages to be true in most cases, but they can vary based on your industry and internal processes. To receive, open, scan an invoice, it takes about 2 minutes. To log into a system and enter the invoice data, 5 minutes or longer. Then three-way matching, another 5 minutes or longer. Then to route for approvals and payment, 5 minutes or longer. What does this mean in terms of cost? It depends on your labor rate, but next, here are some estimates. For the most streamlined companies, it costs $4, and for others, upwards of $23. This is according to third-party research, and costs do not include managers and executives reviewing invoices, which will go up if you make a mistake and have to submit it a second time for approval. We've mentioned paper a few times, but even if most of your invoices come in email or other electronic formats, you're probably still doing most or all of these processes manually. Also, if you have any exceptions or extra information to input, the costs go way up, and exceptions are common. Aberdeen concludes that when it comes to invoice automation, the devil is in the details. Industry stats show that 8 out of 10, or 82% of all invoices will have at least one exception. Invoice exceptions are the governor of AP automation. You could be cruising at 65 miles per hour, but thanks to these exceptions, you're crawling along at 30. That's a lot of exceptions, 8 out of 10. So where do these exceptions come from? Mistakes. And 100% of accounting offices make mistakes in data entry. The more repetitive, mundane, and higher volume of tasks, the more mistakes. I see this all the time. Mistakes can be data entered incorrectly or lost from a poor scan. And when those mistakes are not caught early, the cost of invoice processing is driven up. Why does this happen? It's often because your staff has a lot to do. They multitask, they get interrupted, or they don't have anyone else checking their work. It's easy to do when people are very busy. But it also happens when these mistakes happen, there are not strong workflows in place like validation of work. Okay, enough about the areas that are problematic in AP. I want to pass things over to Matt now to talk about the parts of AP that can be automated by software. Matt?
Thanks, Greg. And hello, everybody. On the screen, you'll see a very typical AP invoice process. Prepping, that includes receiving, sometimes scanning and sorting, then any manual entry, reviewing, routing of invoices for approval, returning approvals, and then reviewing and releasing those for payment. What you may also realize is the problematic portions go beyond just wasted time in processing an invoice, like Greg mentioned. There are delays that happen, poor visibility into where things are in the process, loss of control, or sometimes called email purgatory, not knowing where it is or what somebody has done with that emailed invoice. Inefficiencies related to checking and rechecking, wondering about certain statuses, or possibly chasing down an invoice on somebody's desk or inbox. And finally, there are errors, as we mentioned. So here's what can be done about these issues. You can optimize your accounting operations with no capital investment. I'm going to start with that and let that sink in. Many parts of the accounts payable process can be automated, typically without having to spend a lot of upfront money. So looking at the screen from left to right, information is uploaded or imported. Key information is extracted through a software process known as optical character recognition. Invoices are routed based upon the extracted information. Maybe you're doing an alpha sort. And then once they've been routed for approval. The approvers have a simple method of thumbs up or thumbs down or red light, green light type approval decision making. That information is then communicated bidirectionally between our solution and your line of business system. And if you have content management, then we would integrate with that as well. The system keeps track of what's going on with the documents that are in flow. So red is bad, green is good, and yellow means watch. So if you have a number of invoices that are yellow, then you know that you need to reach out to those approvers to find out what is going on with them. And then the solution provides the ability to report on activity. So you can actually see when the last time something was done with an invoice or a request for approval or review or whatever. And finally, at the end of the process, we store the invoice data and that entire workflow chain of events with it, either in a file share, in your content management system, in your accounting system, if that's where you need it, whatever makes the most sense for you. It's very flexible. So the next slide that we go to talks about robotic processing or robotic process automation. And basically, they aren't real robots, but they're little pieces of software that do the same thing over and over and over. They're perfect for automated recognition of data fields on an invoice and data entry matching, comparing it to perhaps a purchase order to make sure that it's aligned. We find that 86% of what goes through this first phase is straight through. We get all of the information that we need, everything's good. About 13%, 2 of the 3 results match, and then typically there's 1% of the invoices that get processed that need somebody to make a decision on it. So what I really want to address is what happens when it's integrated with the ERP. So if we go to the next slide, one of the components that makes our solution unique is artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of buzz about artificial intelligence. It's a hot topic, and some of AI is just workflow automation, where other parts are more intriguing. The parts that you should care about, though, whenever further tasks can be identified that are unique to your environment and they're repetitive, you want to be able to capture those tasks. AI finds patterns in documents to locate key data on the invoices or supporting documents. AI classifies documents by analyzing small subsets of information and then remembering it so the next time a similar document comes through, it's easier for the system to identify and extract it. AI also identifies context based upon real-time and historical data corrections and manual data entry that the people who are making the corrections to the invoices, they're already doing their part in training the AI bots to do it better, faster, and cheaper. AI also generalizes what it learns from data corrections, allowing it to accommodate for things like shifting paper in a scanner or spelling irregularities in a document. And finally, AI uses your back-end accounting system data to match and cross-reference with purchase order, bills of lading, validate invoice information, and so forth. Finally, a little bit about my company and what we do. We are experts in systems integration. We have more than 100 business application integrations and growing. What that means is We can extract data from any document form or communication stream, paper or electronic. Documents can be structured or unstructured, even handwritten or other forms or other paper processes. That's important because I suggest you want to go with a company who can streamline as much of your resources as possible. But data just stays data unless it's easy to figure out what to do with it. We also make it easy and actionable, so you know exactly what to do for each step. Accuracy is super important to us and to you. Our capture rate is 99% through a service level agreement with our customers. It's achieved through microtasking, which is where you parse out different pieces of information to two people and they independently validate that it's correct, making sure that your information is 100% or 99.x% accurate when you get it back. Service level agreements are important too. You don't want to hand something off to a service and wonder if you're going to get it back in the next 72 hours. We manage 6 to 24-hour turnaround times for our customers. Another advantage is there are no upfront costs. There's no software to buy, no IT resources needed to maintain it. It's a flexible service that allows you to buy what you use. Thus, it's operational expense versus capital expenditures. And we integrate with a lot of different back-end systems. So this next page shows some of the 100+ integrations that we have today. You'll likely recognize some of the logos and names. If you don't see it on here, ask Greg or someone from his team, and he can get you a list of systems beyond this. And if you have one that we don't have on the list, let's have a conversation about building a connector for you. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Greg, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Let me address what AP automation looks like for services through SISNW, and then I'll conclude with how you can assess if automation is for your business or not. There are still parts of the process that you'll want to validate through human tracking and management. I don't want to get into the details here, but what makes our partnership with Formed AI so good is that our services, when needed, play an important role. We pride ourselves in being experts in automation across many parts of accounting, not just accounts payable. We leverage technology, but we focus on automation services. We provide, first, services that are customized to your business needs. Next, work that is streamlined and process-driven, much like an assembly line with lots of checks and balances. Duties are segregated so that when one person enters data, another person checks the work. Our streamlined approach enables us to go fast without interruptions. In contrast, offices can't afford to do this type of concentrated work in the same way. We speed things up and build a repeatable process that ensures high quality, so you can trust that invoices are accurate and mistakes become a thing of the past. We use strong technology partners such as Formed AI. We also integrate our work not just through Formed AI technology, but whatever other services you need. This is our Montgomery Park building in Portland. We also have a similar location in Seattle. We're experts in processing confidential documents, contracts, advanced directives, credentialing, accounting, AP and AR, expenses, human resources, medical records, even police records. Our outsourced services offer unmatched quality and accuracy. And again, we partner with best-in-class providers like Formed AI. We keep up with scalability, whether virtual mailbox or other services. The bottom line is, as an outsourced services company, we are part of your team, freeing you up to focus on more important issues in your department. So that's a bit about us, but where to start? So as promised, let's go back to the question of how do you know if AP automation is worth it for your company? To see if there could be a fit, I suggest asking yourself these 3 questions. Do you have someone who spends at least 2 hours a day on invoice manual work? How often have you missed a vendor discount? How often has a mistake hurt your business, causing more work or even to lose business with a key partner? If you wonder if there may be enough volume and enough issues, we'd like to help you build a business case, and we use this online tool that takes 30 minutes or less to complete. You can try it out yourself, but we'd be happy to do the estimate with you, as often you'll find that there are questions that you may not know off the top of your head. We only want to offer you a solution if it fits, and SISNW is focused on building trusted relationships by taking a consultative approach. I hope you'll let us help you do this business case with you. So if you'd like to schedule 30 minutes, we'd like to help. If not, please feel free to use this link at the bottom of the slide. The bottom line is, by automating your AP and becoming part of your team, we reduce costs, improve your services, and free you up to focus on the tasks you need to do. Even if your budgets and IT support are limited, it's easy to get started. The solution will pay for itself quickly, and we'll do most of the heavy lifting. That's it. Here's our contact info. My counterpart in Oregon is Jim Mountain. Feel free to reach out to us for a business case appointment, or reach out to us if you have other areas of your business that you'd like to streamline and improve operations. Thank you for joining us.